Did you know that the fastest way to bring your blood sugar down has almost nothing to do with cutting carbs? Most people hear high blood sugar and immediately think they need to eliminate entire food groups, starve themselves, or live on grilled chicken and lettuce forever. That is not what actually works, and I have watched it fail again and again in real people. What actually works is adding the right foods back into your day, foods that talk directly to your cells and tell them to start listening to insulin again. I have sat across from hundreds of patients who turned their numbers around in a matter of days, not months, just by layering these foods into meals they were already eating. And the results held. Not for a week, not for a fad diet season, but for years, without needing another prescription added to the pile. So in this video, I am going to walk you through 10 foods, one at a time, and show you exactly how each one works inside your body to lower your blood sugar naturally and keep it down for good. Before I get into the first one, do me a favor. If you want more videos like this, ones that actually explain what is happening inside your body instead of just telling you to take a pill and come back in 3 months, hit subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment with your fasting number from this morning. I read every single one, and honestly, the numbers you share shape what I cover next. So let's get into it. Here's what almost nobody explains to you in a rushed 10-minute appointment. High blood sugar almost never starts with sugar. It starts with a hormone called insulin. Insulin's job is to knock on the door of your cells and let glucose, the sugar sitting in your bloodstream, come inside where it belongs and gets used for energy. But after years of processed food, stress, and blood sugar spikes, your cells stop answering that knock. Insulin knocks and knocks again, and the door stays shut. That is insulin resistance. Your pancreas panics and pumps out even more insulin to force the issue, your blood sugar keeps climbing anyway, and the standard response is another medication that floods your system with even more insulin it already cannot use properly. That is not because anyone is out to get you. It is just how the system is built. There is no time in a short visit and no incentive to teach you that food can speak directly to your insulin receptors. So I am going to do it here instead. Every single food on this list does one of 3 things. It slows down how fast sugar enters your blood, it cools the inflammation that is keeping your cells deaf to insulin in the first place, or it wakes the insulin receptor back up so your body can finally do the job it was designed to do. You do not need to start all 10 tomorrow morning. Add them in slowly over the next couple of weeks and let them stack on top of each other. Let's start with the first one. Number 1 is fenugreek seeds. These are small, hard, amber-colored seeds that you will find in the spice aisle of almost any grocery store for a couple of dollars. If you skip past this one because it sounds unfamiliar, you are walking right past one of the most powerful blood sugar tools available, and it costs less than your morning coffee. Here's what it actually does. Fenugreek is loaded with a soluble fiber called galactomannan. The moment it hits water in your stomach, it swells into a thick gel, and that gel physically slows down how quickly carbohydrates move from your stomach into your small intestine. Slower movement means the sugar trickles into your blood instead of flooding it all at once. No flood means no spike, and no spike means no emergency dump of insulin from your pancreas. On top of that, fenugreek contains a specific amino acid that helps your pancreas release insulin more efficiently and encourages your muscles to pull glucose out of the blood. In my own experience, I have watched fasting numbers drop within a week or 2 from this one change alone. To use it, soak a teaspoon of the whole seeds in a glass of water overnight, then drink the water and eat the softened seeds first thing in the morning. If the bitterness is too strong, grind them into powder and stir half a teaspoon into yogurt or scramble it into your eggs. Start small, because this fiber is strong and your gut needs a few days to adjust to it. Number 2 is cinnamon, and you almost certainly already have some in your kitchen. But the type matters more than you think, and most people are reaching for the wrong one. The cinnamon sitting in most grocery stores is cassia, and it contains a compound called coumarin that can be hard on your liver in large daily amounts. What you actually want is Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes labeled true cinnamon. It is gentler, safer for everyday use, and it is what I recommend to my own patients. The reason cinnamon works comes down to a group of plant compounds called polyphenols. They behave almost like insulin themselves, helping your receptors grip glucose more tightly while also slowing down how fast your stomach empties after a meal. This is not a folk remedy. A well-known study out of a human nutrition program at the USDA found that less than half a teaspoon a day meaningfully lowered fasting glucose in adults with type 2 diabetes. Skipping this one means leaving an easy win sitting untouched in your spice rack. Use about a quarter to a half teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon daily, stirred into oatmeal, coffee, or a smoothie, and pair it with a carbohydrate-heavy meal so it is working exactly when you need those receptors gripping harder. Third on the list is broccoli sprouts, and I want you to pay close attention here, because this is the single most underused food on this entire list. Not full-grown broccoli, the tiny, 3-day-old sprouts. Miss that distinction, and you miss almost the entire benefit. Broccoli sprouts are packed with a compound called sulforaphane, and they contain somewhere between 50 and 100 times more of it than a mature head of broccoli. Sulforaphane does something none of the other foods on this list do quite as directly. It travels to your liver and quiets down the overnight sugar factory. Your liver produces glucose while you sleep, and in insulin resistance, it produces far too much, which is exactly why so many people wake up with a high fasting number even though they have not eaten a single bite all night. A widely cited study out of a research university in Sweden gave concentrated sulforaphane to people with type 2 diabetes and measurably lowered their fasting blood sugar, with the strongest results showing up in the people whose numbers had been hardest to control. You can grow these yourself on a countertop in a jar for pennies or buy them ready-made in the produce section. A small handful, about a quarter cup, on a salad or sandwich most days is enough. Do not cook them hard, because high heat destroys the active compound. Eat them raw or barely wilted. Every food so far has done the same quiet work, either slowing sugar down or waking the receptor up, and we are only 3 in. The next few are the ones that transform meals you are already eating without asking you to give anything up. If someone in your life is fighting their numbers too, send them this video, because this is the exact information nobody sat them down and explained. Number 4 is the avocado. Most people avoid it because they see the calorie count and assume it is working against them. And that fear is costing them a genuinely useful tool. The fat inside an avocado is monounsaturated, the same family as olive oil, and it is one of the most blood sugar-friendly fats you can eat. What it does is simple. The healthy fat combined with the fiber slows your entire meal down. Add half an avocado to a plate of rice or toast, and you are not removing the carbohydrate. You are putting a brake on how quickly it becomes blood sugar. The glucose rises gently instead of spiking. Over time, monounsaturated fat has also been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells respond to that insulin knock a little faster. In my experience, this is one of the easiest habits to build because it makes meals more satisfying, which means you are not reaching for a snack an hour later. Half an avocado a day is a reasonable target. Add it to eggs in the morning, mash it onto whole grain toast, or fold it into a salad that already has a starch in it. Anywhere there is a carbohydrate on your plate, avocado softens the blow. Fifth is chia seeds. These tiny gray and black seeds punch far above their size. If you have ever watched chia sit in liquid and turn into pudding, you have already seen exactly how it works inside your gut. Chia is one of the richest sources of soluble fiber available, and when it meets water in your stomach, it forms that same thick gel we talked about with fenugreek. That gel wraps around the carbohydrates in your meal and slows their absorption down to a crawl, so the sugar releases steadily instead of spiking and crashing an hour later, leaving you shaky and hungry. Chia also contains a plant-based omega-3 fat that helps calm the low-grade inflammation sitting underneath insulin resistance. Cool that inflammation, and your cells start listening to insulin again. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day is enough. Stir it into yogurt, drop it into a glass of water with a squeeze of lemon, or blend it into a smoothie. Give it about 10 minutes to gel before drinking, and make sure to drink plenty of water alongside it, because that much fiber needs liquid to move through your system properly. Number 6 is fatty fish, specifically salmon and mackerel. This one does not work by slowing your meal down. It works on the deeper issue, the reason your cells stopped listening to insulin in the first place. Insulin resistance is driven largely by chronic inflammation, and when your body stays quietly inflamed year after year, that inflammation physically interferes with the insulin signal at the surface of the cell. Salmon and mackerel are loaded with 2 omega-3 fats, EPA and DHA, and these are among the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory compounds known. They lower inflammatory signals, the cell membrane becomes healthier, and the insulin receptor starts functioning the way it is meant to. Over years of practice, patients who eat fatty fish twice a week consistently show calmer, more stable numbers, along with better blood pressure. Aim for 2 servings a week, roughly the size of your palm each. Wild salmon, mackerel, sardines, and herring all work well. Bake it, grill it, or buy it canned if that fits your budget better. Canned mackerel and sardines are some of the cheapest, most powerful foods on this entire list. 7th on the list is walnuts. Of all the nuts, this is the one I point patients toward first because of what it does for the lining of your blood vessels at the same time it works on insulin. Walnuts are rich in polyunsaturated fat and the same plant-based omega-3 found in chia. That fat improves the function of your endothelium, the thin lining inside your blood vessels, which is one of the first things damaged by chronically high blood sugar. At the same time, the fat, fiber, and protein in walnuts blunt the rise in blood sugar after a meal and have been shown to lower fasting insulin, the number that tells you how hard your pancreas is straining behind the scenes. Eat a small handful as a snack instead of crackers or a cookie, and you have turned a sugar spike into a flat line. A small handful means about a quarter cup or 7 to 10 whole walnuts. Keep them raw or dry roasted, never the candied or honey-coated kind, and use them to replace a processed snack rather than adding on top of one. Number 8 is eggs, whole eggs, yolk included. For years, people were told the yolk was the enemy, and that advice pushed people towards sugary breakfast cereals that were far worse for their blood sugar than the yolk ever was. Let me correct that. A whole egg is almost pure protein and fat with virtually no carbohydrate, meaning on its own it barely moves your blood sugar at all. But the real advantage is something called the second meal effect. When you start your day with eggs instead of toast or cereal, your blood sugar stays steadier, not just through breakfast, but all the way to lunch. You walk into your next meal calmer, with a smaller spike waiting for you. The protein and fat also keep you full, which means the mid-morning craving that usually sends you toward the cookie jar quietly disappears. Swapping a cereal breakfast for 2 or 3 eggs is one of the fastest changes I see show up on a morning glucose reading. 2 or 3 whole eggs in the morning is a solid target for most people. Scramble them, boil a batch ahead for the week, or fold in some spinach, and put that avocado from earlier right on top for a near-perfect blood sugar breakfast. Number 9 is apple cider vinegar, and this is the one with the fastest visible effect of anything on this list. If you own a glucose meter at home, you can watch this one work tonight. The active ingredient is acetic acid, and it does 2 things at once. It slows your stomach from emptying, so the carbohydrates in your meal arrive in your bloodstream gradually, and it helps your muscles pull glucose out of your blood to use as fuel. The research backing this is strong, and studies out of a well-known human nutrition program found that a tablespoon of vinegar before a carbohydrate meal lowered the after-meal blood sugar spike by roughly 20% in people with insulin resistance. That is a drug-sized effect from something that costs a few dollars a bottle. Take 1 tablespoon, diluted, and this part matters, in a full glass of water, 10 to 15 minutes before a meal containing carbohydrates. Always dilute it, never drink it straight, because the acid is hard on tooth enamel and your throat. And if you are already on any blood sugar medication, talk to your doctor first, because vinegar combined with that medication can push your sugar down faster than you expect. The 10th food is lentils, and this one proves the entire point of this video. Lentils are a carbohydrate, and they will still lower your blood sugar. Here is how. Lentils are built from a slow-digesting resistant starch wrapped in soluble fiber and a healthy amount of plant protein. That combination means the glucose inside a lentil releases into your blood slowly and steadily over hours instead of all at once. They carry that same second meal effect too, so a bowl of lentil soup at lunch keeps your sugar steadier into the evening. Clinically, swapping white rice or white potato for lentils a few times a week is one of the most reliable ways to bring down an A1C, your 3-month average blood sugar. Aim for half a cup to a cup of cooked lentils a few times a week in a soup, a stew, or a cold salad with olive oil and a splash of that vinegar we just talked about. They are filling, they are cheap, and they stretch a meal further than almost anything else on this list. Let me tell you about a patient I will call Donna. 63 years old, recently retired, and she came in frightened because her fasting sugar was sitting around 180, and her doctor had just told her it was time to add a second medication. She did not want to spend the rest of her life climbing that ladder, and she was scared because she had watched her own mother lose her toes and then her eyesight to the same disease. We did not cut her carbohydrates to nothing. We added eggs and avocado in the morning instead of cereal, a tablespoon of vinegar before her bigger meals, lentils swapped in for white rice, walnuts instead of the afternoon cookie, fatty fish twice a week, cinnamon stirred into her coffee, and broccoli sprouts on her lunchtime sandwich. Within the first week, her fasting numbers started dropping. Within 3 months, working alongside her own doctor, she came off that second medication entirely, and her A1C moved out of the diabetic range and back toward normal. 2 years later, it has held. She did not starve herself. She ate more food, just the right food, and her body did the rest. So let me tie all 10 of these together, because this is exactly why they work when cutting carbs alone so often fails. Every single one of these foods hands your insulin its job back without starving you. The fiber-rich foods slow glucose down so your pancreas never has to panic. The fish, the walnuts, and the chia cool the inflammation that was jamming the signal in the first place. The cinnamon and the vinegar walk straight up to the insulin receptor and help it grip again. Do that meal after meal, day after day, and the cell that stopped answering the door slowly starts opening it on the first knock, every time. That is what reversing insulin resistance at the cellular level actually looks like. And once that happens, your body holds your sugar down on its own, which is exactly why Donna's numbers stayed steady for 2 full years and counting. Before I give you tonight's plan, I need to draw one clear line. If you are on insulin or an older class of blood sugar medication called a sulfonylurea, these foods can lower your sugar quickly enough that your current dose may suddenly be too strong, and that can drop you into dangerously low blood sugar. Add these foods in with your doctor watching your numbers, and let them walk your medication dose down as your body improves. Do not stop any prescription on your own. Bring this list to your next appointment instead. So here is what to actually do tonight. 5 simple steps. Tomorrow morning, replace your cereal or toast with 2 or 3 whole eggs and half an avocado, a single swap that changes your blood sugar for the entire day. Tonight, soak a teaspoon of fenugreek seeds in a glass of water and drink it first thing in the morning. Buy Ceylon cinnamon, not cassia, and start with a 1/4 teaspoon a day in your coffee or oatmeal. Before your biggest carbohydrate meal tomorrow, take a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a full glass of water 15 minutes ahead of time. And this week, swap white rice or white potato for lentils at least twice and put fatty fish on the menu 2 nights. Stack these in over the next couple of weeks. You are not taking away the foods you love. You are adding in the foods that protect you. Now, everything we covered today brings your sugar down during the day and after your meals. But so many of you have told me the exact same strange thing, that your highest reading of the entire day shows up first thing in the morning, before you have eaten a single bite. You fasted all night, and your sugar went up anyway. There is a specific reason your liver does that while you sleep, and there is a way to shut it down. I have a video that walks through exactly what is happening overnight and how to wake up to a lower number. Go watch that one next, and I will see you there.